All right, good evening and welcome to a new season of F-Stop Live. I am your new host, Pakamani, and coming all the way from the Eastern Cape in a town called Komani. It might be freezing cold, but yet we have you sourced up this evening. And yes, we're going to be having a bit of baby talk. Now, you're going to be asking yourself, in terms of what baby talk is about. But hey, you know what? I need you to stay tuned, and we're going to actually have a couple of things that we're going to be speaking about, especially when it comes to baby photography. So, the person that we're going to be interviewing this evening is none other than Monique Visser, and she is going to come onto the screen in a bit and introduce herself. And one of the things that we're definitely doing today is making sure that we learn a bit more than what we actually normally know, because hey, I normally just take portraits and that's all I have, but we're going to be having Monique this evening, and she's going to be teaching us a bit more about infant photography or newborn photography. So let me just do this and welcome Monique onto our stream. All right, so that is Monique. Hi Monique, how are you doing this evening?
I'm very well, thanks, and yourself?
I'm good. I'm a bit nervous because, as I said, this is something that is slightly foreign. And the reason that I say that it is slightly foreign is because it's the first time that I'm actually hosting F-Stop Live, as opposed to, being on the other side where I am actually being interviewed. So, as I said, this is going to be a new ride for me, and it's going to be something that we take on together. So, tell us a
Great.
bit about Monique. Who is Monique? Let's start there.
Monique is just a person.
Just a person.
I'm a person. I am the owner of Papillon Photography. I specialize in newborn and maternity photography. I'm
All
29
right.
years old and I am from Gauteng.
And how's the weather up in Gauteng at the moment?
Very cold. It's very cold. I've got my trachea on, so
Okay, okay. No, it's a very, as I said, it's a very interesting sort of times because we're in winter, and winter brings about different sort of experience in terms of the cold itself. And as you said, you are cold, and yeah, it's how do you pronounce your company's name again?
it's papillon photography. So it's a French word for butterfly.
Oh, French word. Okay. So, what inspired the French sort of expression? Because I know some people would go and be like, I'll go the Swahili route. I'll go and see if I can't find any of the 11 official languages sort of route. So then Monique, comes with a French one.
Yeah, honestly, there's no specific rhyme or reason to it. I'm absolutely a butterfly freak, and it just sounds so nice in French. So papillon it was.
Okay. So Papillon it is. And how long have you been in photography, if I may ask?
I started at the end of 2013, so it's pretty much been 10.5 years now.
Okay. Wow, that's 10 and a half years. And any challenges that you met along the way, especially considering that, we have a world where certain people believe it's a man's world, and then we have women who are doing it and doing quite well in the industry.
Um, I think the biggest challenge pretty much was just climbing the ladder of experience. In
Okay.
terms of being a female photographer, I think as a female myself, I've only pretty much noticed majority of photographers being females. Um,
Okay.
as to male photographers, if I think of male photographers in the past, I would immediately think weddings or street photography.
All
But I
right.
think it's just because of the specific niche that I'm in, it's more likely for a female, obviously, to do newborn photography. I think it's very rare to see a male pursue that specific niche.
All right, all right. So basically, that was more or less your motivation into getting into, the side of this. So basically, I'd also like to find out from you in terms of your creative vision when it comes to newborn photography. So, what would you say inspires your creative vision when it comes to that?
I think this is going to sound very strange, but when it comes to the creative passion I share in my business, is to find the creativity in the stuff that I already own. Um, so I would overthink my sessions to get my own creativity flowing because I don't. I obviously have the people that I look up to in the industry, um, but like highly believe that if you're not confident in your own niche or like your own space of creativity, you're never going to portray what you can bring to the table. So yeah, I think I pretty much outsource most of my creativity from my own business. If
All
it
right.
sounds weird, I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound funny about it.
No, it's all good because I mean, like at the end of the day, we have a different niche, we have different styles, we shoot different things, and as we learn as people, we start to see different things differently. So taking a niche and saying, you know what, you saw a gap in the market and said, okay, not enough males, or as you said, there's also a lack of males that are doing this type of photography. So then you're like, okay, this thing would actually suit me, and you went for it, you know. So
Yeah.
when you started out and you said, this is what I wanted to do, were there any doubts in terms of that particular genre, or were you also similar to a lot of people's paths? You do everything and then you find your niche. So for you, was it straightforward or pretty much the same as go right around? Then I was like, that one.
I think most of us as photographers do the everything stage, because
Okay.
I feel that is a stage you have to go through, because how else will you possibly know, where you belong in the industry? You can't
All
just
right.
wake up one morning and decide, today I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be a newborn photographer.
Mm,
You've got to kind of dabble your toes a little bit in the different genres that photography offers,
all
to
right.
find your comfortable sweet spot. So I definitely have been everywhere in my early stages.
Mm. No, it's always works like that because the one of the things that I've actually picked up is the fact that, as you say, you start off everywhere and you look like a little jack in the box because you seem like you're not sure what you're doing up
Yeah.
until it starts to pay off. So, how long would you say in your journey it took you in terms of it getting to a point where you're saying, now I see what I'm doing is starting to pay off? Because I know for some people, it's say in my third or fourth year, that's when it started to click.
Yeah. It's kind of a little bit of a weird one, because I had a day job for many, many years while me doing
Okay.
photography. It's been pretty much a weekend hobby kind of thing to, bring in some extra cash at the time. So
Mm,
I used to work in the fitness industry, and I think mainly when the COVID era hit us, that is
okay.
when I dove in head first and just didn't look back. So I'd say pretty much from COVID is when I fully committed myself, um, to make a success of it.
Right. So we have another comment just here that I just like to bring up onto the screen. It says, "Don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Own your creativity. Conquer the imposter syndrome." And I just want to touch on that. At any point, did you ever feel a sense that what, as much as I'm shooting, I do feel like an imposter somewhat?
I think yes, definitely in the stages when I was still trying to find my niche, um, because I'm going to say like 80% of the photographers, that has evolved out there go through that stage, because again, I'm going to repeat myself. That's the only way to learn. aside from, going to a college or studying photography. That is just your knowledge on photography. That's not doing the job.
Right.
So that uncomfortable thing that makes you feel like an imposter, early stages I would recommend is a good thing to feel, because that kind of pushes you in, a proper direction.
All right. No, it's all good. As I said, it's also one of the things where I have said, in terms of what we feel, apart from having imposter syndrome, is an issue where, we encounter people who says, listen, are you looking for a mentor? And you'd be like, me, what can I learn? So did you by any chance have a situation where you felt that, here's someone offering their help and said, okay, I can mentor you in photography, not necessarily newborn, but photography in general?
I'm going to kind of go no, purely because what I have found throughout the years, and I still see it happen, which is actually very sad, is that photographers like to keep to themselves,
Okay.
especially towards baby photographers.
All right.
So my learning curve was a lot of self-experience,
Okay.
and kind of fishing. I've met plenty of photographers, and they'll only tell you so much or mentor you so much. They'll never deep dive into the good stuff, if I can call it that.
Okay.
And I find that's like the one thing that I find sad about this industry. But again, that is not everyone. It's just hard to come across someone that is willing to share, proper deep knowledge that's taken them 10 years to learn and then giving it away for free. So it is hard to find, proper, decent mentors that's willing to do stuff like that.
Okay. So, like, I'll give an example on my end. I was fortunate enough to meet people at the latter end, but in the beginning, it was all, what can you learn online? Okay, you have the camera in hand, and from having the camera, then you start shooting. And how much confidence, when you did something similar to that, did you have when it came to actually posting your work online?
Sure. Are we speaking of the early ages or like now?
Early ages and
Early
a bit of
ages.
now as well. Yeah,
Um,
early ages and a bit of now.
I think honesty there as a photographer is going to be the main point, because starting out and obviously, gathering content to be able to put on social medias and advertise yourself using that content. If you're not confident in your work as a beginner, it's going to be it's going to be scary. So a good thing is to inform your clients, listen, I'm starting out. Okay, I'm a start out photographer, I'm learning. And obviously, that comes with not so good quality. So the confidence back then posting my work was a bit scary, but it's something that had to be done, that also pushed me into a space of uncomfortability, which is a place of growth. And versus now, I now have the excitement to, want to put these stuff online, because I want to show my people. I want to show the people that follow my page, look what I've done this weekend. Look how much I love my job. So it's been a growth, but I absolutely love it now.
Okay. So tell me something. When you started, you got feedback. We won't call it criticism per se, but you got feedback. And when it came to that feedback initially, how much of you had a bit of resistance to it compared to when you get feedback now?
I think I took it a lot more personal in the beginning, especially if someone, tried to correct me in some way. I would find it, this person's attacking me, attacking my talent, attacking, whatever.
Right.
And it's just because it's new, it's scary. And
Right.
I think it's with any profession really, is people's going to say stuff, and you're going to have to man up and, take it as a learning curve. So as to now, I love criticism, whether it's good or bad. It's good because that tells you, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what you must correct, what you must work on, and what you can continue doing. So criticism is a very good thing for business.
Okay. So when it comes to as you said, you used to take it personally. Now it's more like, okay, this is at least within the learning curve. So how much of that comes from friends and how much comes from that from clients? And how do you deal with criticism from friends versus criticism maybe that comes from your clients?
If I'm bracketing this as, let's say, negative criticism, from friends and family, it's a lot more painful to hear than versus clients, because a client comes to you as a professional with knowing what you're able to offer. So if they feel you have not exceeded those limits, they should have done their homework. They came to you specifically because they like what you do as a person, what you do as a creative. So
Right.
You get some funny people with some, stories that come because they, just want to be difficult. But definitely if it comes from friends and family, it's something to be taken personal because they will definitely be honest.
Okay. No, I still have a situation where with my dad, where if I do, like, even I'm doing a show, he's watching now. So what happens is that, after the show, I get a piece of paper, and on that paper, I look at it, and it's feedback from some of the things. So, and it's mostly on a grammatical sort of scale because, it's one of the things that we definitely can't escape when it comes to any sort of grammatical errors that we can actually take on. So it's something that I've literally become accustomed to. And as you say, when it comes from family, it's cringe moments. But when it's coming from a client, so they have somewhat of a neutral thing because they got to be specific and say, okay, I think there's a little black spot there. But when it comes to at times family, it's a situation of, are you sure you really want to do this? So that's basically my next question: is that how sure were you at a certain time that you're like, you know what, this is literally what I want to do? Because apart from newborns, we are going to speak about the other genre that we also do, as much as our focus is this. But, you got into it and said, the one, 100%.
The one. I think it's mainly my mindset of I could very rarely be bothered what people have to say or think when it's negatively impacting your life. That is something I brush off my shoulders very quickly, especially in today's age, being public on social media, because you got so many people that's literally sitting there, wanting to give someone a bad day. So that is just, it doesn't exist in my books.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't really have much comment on that other than just ignore a bully.
All right. So basically, now we're just going to look at a couple of challenges maybe that you might have faced with regards to newborn photography. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to photographing newborns?
Oh man, can I say the parents?
Okay, parents.
Honestly, not so much the babies. They are intimidating on their own and they come with their own stuff. But you're working with a small infant child, mostly 4 or 5 days old, so pretty brand new, pretty weak, and you've got this mom and dad, and they are nervous because you've got their life of their child in your hands, you understand? So mom is always here, dad is always here, and that kind of, just that space. So I think definitely the nerves of mom and dad is definitely the most challenging part of a session when working with newborns. But in the newborn category, I would just say maybe their little personalities, because they are small individual people, even though they're not, developed yet, they still have their own little nicks and own little personalities that you got to take some time to, kind of get to know what their icks are in that first 10, 15 minutes before starting your photo shoot.
Okay. Here's a nice little comment here that says, I'd be scared that I would break the baby. Have you ever had a moment that, when you are preparing the little one and as you're cradling them in your arms and you're placing them down, it's like, phew, this person is light.
Honestly, you know what? And so many people say this, especially dads in studio. And babies don't break that easy. They are fully developed, little humans.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I know it's scary and intimidating, but they are able to move into positions that we are not, because their bones are very soft. So I get that it's scary. There's certain places on the baby you cannot touch, but if you make the effort to, gain knowledge about newborn safety and especially baby anatomy, there really is nothing to be scared about. Just always work low and on a surface, because I think the worst thing that could probably happen is if someone maybe drops a baby, and that would be very bad.
Okay. No, I get you. And yeah, it's something that I think, we all scared about when it comes to, babies, because you like thinking to yourself, what happens if this little one actually drops and, you have to, like, we're scared.
Yeah, and no, I understand. I get it.
So it becomes that kind of thing that someone's like, you're a scaredy cat or something like that. And like, if only you knew, then you wouldn't actually be saying what you are saying right now, because this baby is, they will survive it all. I'm just trying to also just get a little image up on the screen that we can actually look at when it comes to, the little ones. And I remember that baby song.
Oh, yeah, yes, I had a lot.
So that Baby Shark song. So I'm going to show a picture here just now of one of your little babies there. So in actually having, okay, let's just bring it up. Right. That little one, because they cradled in a very nice little way. So that one looks easier. What would you say, where the challenges is? We are going to bring on some other ones where it's like hectic.
You make it sound very bad. Honestly, this photo is literally just someone relaxing on a pillow. That's literally essentially what's happening in this photo. You'll see he's got his little hand tucked away under his chin. And that's just for safety and support. So we always want to make sure that the airway is open. That is the most important thing of any pose, is focusing on the airway. So yeah, that's literally just a little baby resting on the couch. There's support right next to the baby, so the baby is never left unsupervised to take a shot. I'll keep my hand on the baby for 1 second, take it away, take a shot, hand right back straight. Because at any moment, this baby can have a movement in its sleep. It can either pull forward or, whatever the case might be. But again, that is just also the way you prop up your baby. Always think about safety. Is there a possibility of the baby rolling forward for that 1 second that you are not, got hands on baby, or you might not have a spotter the day? So you'll see that pillow is pushed forward quite a lot, and that is to kind of make a dip behind the baby. So if baby does, have a movement, it'll roll back onto the chair in the same position it is right now. So I know sometimes you want to get like a specific cute little shot, but always ask the question, is it worth risking, additional safety or not?
No, that's something that I've actually picked up, and I was like, as I said, one does feel a sense of being scared because, you don't want to curl them up so much. And there's another one that I actually also want to bring up onto the screen. So this one is going to be also interesting because the baby does look quite curled up, and in them being curled up, they seemingly, they love, being, because this one looks like there's literally, I'm just waiting for it to come up. They look as though that, okay, just want to see that it's not a repetition of the first one, but it looks like a different picture. Let's bring it onto the stream. No, it's still the repetition. Sorry, let me just bring in the right picture. All right, because this, yeah, so I think this is the thing with lives, is that you
Trial
get
and
it right
error.
the first time.
Yes.
You get it right the first time or you don't. And it's a matter of just making sure that, okay, let's see now. It's still showing me pretty much the same picture. Let me just stop sharing. All right, there we go. I've got the right picture now. So when we look at that picture, that one looks like they're bones. And they're nicely curled up, they've fallen asleep, and it just looks so peaceful. So would you take us through the process of how to create this particular one? Because we also got to move into, apart from just how we created this, but how we also lit the scene when it comes to this particular picture.
Okay. Well, I'll start off by saying it is a very relaxing pose. So as you can see, baby is completely on his back, and he's got a little posing pillow underneath his head, just to kind of slightly push the head up, towards my light source. So processing this image from the start is babies can actually bring their feet all the way up, which we as adults cannot do. And that is a big part of why we shoot them so early out the womb, is because that is the way they are being curled up for 9 months. So
right.
their bodies, that's what their bodies do. So we always just bring up the legs, crisscross, up to the tummy, never force it up. Baby will automatically pull his legs in. It's the same as when you pick up a baby. You'll see they do that little scrunchy thing. So plainly just lie down a piece of fabric, place baby in there, bring the little legs in, and we just go around with the fabric, and that's literally all it is to the shot. It's not complicated. It looks maybe scary for someone that's never done this before. And then from there, it's literally just about angles and your lighting, to complete, I want to say, the perfect shot.
Right. So would you say here, was it a softbox? Is it an umbrella? And more or less take us through what your lighting setup is like when shooting such a shot.
Okay. So I use a 165 reflective umbrella, if used. And my light source is pretty much always off to the side or just a little bit above, so that when the light hits the nose, you'll see the shadow kind of drops down. So in the newborn photography, we call this butterfly lighting, because it makes a little butterfly just beneath the nose. So that's what we call flattered lighting. And then it's also placed very high. And because I use such a large, lighting source, softbox, that allows for the light to softly spill around the baby as well, not making any, major harsh shadows. And then again, this kind of plays in with your camera angle as well, to get the little blurry feet and the focus, on the eyes, is to just slightly tilt in towards your light source. So we never shoot up the nostrils, we shoot down the nostrils. And that is one of the
Okay.
major focus points that, we use to get the flattering spots of a newborn. Because they can look a little bit funny if you shoot them from behind or below, if I can put it that way. Some photographers like to, exactly opposite to your softbox, will put a reflector to bounce that shadows away. But I would recommend that if you don't own a large, softbox or something similar, and maybe perhaps you're doing window lighting or even speed lights, it's just to kind of bounce that from the opposite corner to remove some of those shadows.
Okay. So, yeah, there's going to be another one that we basically going to also show. And what I like about this particular one is that it's what I would term the Madonna and Child.
Oh, I know the photo you're talking about. It's one of my favorites.
No, it's like I looked at it. I was like Madonna and Child, and the one thing that I absolutely love about this particular one that we basically going to show is the fact that we're going to look at the baby's expression, because that's another thing that I was able to really pick up, and I was like, oh, okay, the baby's expression is almost really priceless. So and then we go again, it's like, is it a tight squeeze? What's happening? So you're going to be the one who takes us through this particular image, because it's quite a nice image that I like it. The balance of light, the sort of emotions that are there as well. So we're just going to bring it up onto the screen. There we go. Let's just enlarge it. There we go. So we have this picture here, and really nice focus there. Again, I'm assuming umbrella light again, 165.
That's correct. Yes, that's my absolute go-to in studio.
Okay, and someone is actually asking a question: is it 165 silver, or is it the 165 white?
I actually use the white. It's not a silver. Obviously, silver just will bounce a little bit more light. But I don't feel it is needed to use the silver in this specific situation, because with the MS300 monolight flash that I use, I already use it at its lowest power to achieve this specific brightness. So that extra is really not necessary.
All right. So you speak about the MS300, and I like something that you just mentioned there. Is that, are you using it as a continuous light so that you actually get the balance of what you're shooting, or are you using it as the flash mode, or using it with continuous and a bit of flash?
I do continuous and flash. I pretty much just use the mono light to obviously mimic my first test shot. Just so I know where my lighting is going without, running back and forth, moving it up, down, closer, further away. So I'm a big fan of the constant light being on, just for my purposes, really, to get my brain ready for the shot and get the shot done and move on.
All right. So take us through the bit of the expressions, because I see baby is like looking at you, looking at the camera, and mommy is trying to hold on a bit tight.
Okay, yeah. Well, I would first off like to start with, I absolutely always have the most beautiful clients. I love them to bits. So this specific session is actually one of my older babies. This is not a newborn. He was about 3 months old, which is relatively old for a newborn session. But we still work with them, but they're a little bit more aware. Hence, him being able to look over at me when I make sounds. They can pick up the direction, and So in this particular shot, what I was kind of envisioning was the closeness of being inside mummy's tummy, and I used the fabric to kind of demonstrate that. Nude on nude skin contact, just absolutely intimate love that's going on in this photo. I honestly, I don't even know what to say. The emotions of this photo just worked out perfectly. And children especially, doesn't matter if they're 3 months old or 5 years old, they are their own little people with their own little expressions and emotions. And especially working with kids, you shoot about, let's call it 5 photos or 6 photos, and you sometimes are blessed with a perfect look or a perfect, like, grouchy little face, or maybe even a smile.
Okay. So that's one thing. And is it easier to shoot babies when they somewhat asleep or when they're awake?
Oh, we definitely prefer them asleep. We prefer milk drunk babies. That allows us to more safely do our job than a baby that's awake.
Okay. So it's less of a risk for lack of a better term.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go into a next photo that also happens to be a really relatively nice one that I feel that, really looks stunning. And as one of the Facebook users has also said, really a stunning shot. And definitely, I do encourage viewers to also just pop in a few questions that Monique, in terms of some of the stuff that you'd also like to know, because it's all about learning. It's not just about being just watching and say, oh, okay, Monique said it, so relatively it's all good, I'm fine. It's like someone has actually said, is it the 165, and we are going to go into a bit of some of the gear that we also use for the different shots. So I'm just trying to get our next photo in, and it's a relatively nice photo that I happen to like. Again, it's about serenity. I see that the baby is also sleeping, and as we said, once they sleep, it's a whole lot nicer as compared to if baby is awake, and one of the while we actually wait for that picture to come up, one of our users is actually asking here is, how many backgrounds do you use? Because this has been actually something that is quite relative, because what's happening right now is that some people use backgrounds, actual background, and some people use AI. So how much of you is natural and how much of you is AI?
If I take a full session, I'm gonna put you on 5% will be AI on my work, because I include one digital image per customer. So I
Right.
try to not overdo the AI thing. I kind of want to rely on my own personal creatives, but there's nothing wrong with using, the AI tool that's been given to us, because that's where we explore our creativity. As for backdrops in studio, I actually use very, very, very limited amounts of backdrops.
All right.
2 mainly. We can maybe say 3 is gray, a dark brown, and white. And then with the babies, I've got quite a few colors. I got about, let's call it 20 colors, but that's
All right.
just plain fabric colors. And then as for an actual backdrop, I only have one, and that is my dark hood. And I'm certain one of those photos will pop up here in our gallery tonight. That's actually my
Definitely.
favorite. There we go.
There we go.
So
We've got the dark wood there.
yes, so that is my actual one backdrop that I use in studio. And I utilize my props and different setups to give the one backdrop that I mainly use a different feel, a different vibe. And it's all about using what you have. You don't
All right.
have to have 20 backdrops, to be a creative. You can have one and make it work.
All right. So I've got another question here that says, how has using Godox lighting equipment enhanced your newborn photography?
Oh, that's an exciting question. So for years, I used to shoot natural window light. It is beautiful, and the only problem that I have found with it is obviously weather changes. You'll have clouds coming and going, sun comes and goes, the sun moves around. So my lighting was not always consistent workflow, even during that one session. And you can move or change your camera settings, obviously throughout the session, but it just becomes a lot more to focus on and not the baby, if I can put it that way. And I wanted a consistent source, and I bought my 165, and I've never looked back. I can now shoot any time of day. I can have a consistent lighted gallery, which reflects a little bit more professional than having one gallery, but with different, different levels of light, if I can put it that way. So using Godox lighting has definitely been a massive save in my daily routine.
Okay. And which, if I may know, which lights do you find most effective for your sessions, and why?
I have bounced around between a few lights and flashes and natural and reflecting, and I have to say, and I actually had, before I bought this light, I was speaking to Carl about it, because I wanted to get the MS300 with the 165, and the concern was that the light was not going to, provide enough power for that larger softbox to get the result that I wanted. But I kind of just thought, you know what, I'm going to then see what it does. I bought it, and turns out it is the perfect match. I would not want a different light. I would even say a 200 would also do the job, but you'll obviously then just have to push your light a little bit higher. As with this one, I literally use just the lowest amount of power.
Okay. So also helped or assisted by the larger sort of softbox, and in terms of the follow light. Okay, that is interesting. And how long have you been using Godox lighting? If like the viewers would like to know.
Pretty much when I bought my first flash.
And which one was your first one?
Oh my word, it's very old and I cannot remember for the life of me. I am so sorry. I'm speaking about years back now, like years and years back. But obviously, Godox is a big name, and Godox is a very trusted supplier. So
definitely,
that was obviously the first route that I went, is Godox, and especially my first softbox as well. It came from Godox. I think it was a 65. So yeah, Godox has been very well to me.
Well, I think Godox lighting is literally everyone's dream, sort of thing, and you can't go wrong with Godox lighting.
And I especially with I shoot Canon and Nikon, and when I used to shoot flash instead of using the mono light in studio, I actually wrote it down because I cannot remember the life of me. It's the X2T TT4 trigger, and then the X1R, the Godox X Pro, for my transmitters and receivers. So yeah, like I said, always been a trusted source to go to if I need something done.
Okay, so we are going to, I need to bring this picture up, okay? But we are going to look at another photo that you took, and it's a relatively sort of nice photo. It's not a baby, at least this time. It's a baby that's coming. It's a mommy that's expecting. So that's what we are literally going to look at. And what I like about these is the fact that the story behind the journey when mothers are expecting. And I've got a very interesting question here for you. When it comes to posting images, especially from shots that you've, let's say, done with maternity, how long after the shoot would you normally wait before posting?
It depends session to session. My clients only receive the photos about after 2 weeks. So anything from the 2-week mark up until 6 weeks, because I've got so many photos that go out. Sometimes some of them wait for like 6 months, just because of the backlog that's happening. So it's pretty spread out. Yes.
Because here I like two things. Something's happening is like you've got your highlights and your shadows are actually quite spread. You've got the one side that's quite lit, and then you've got this. So it's still good lighting, but it's dimmed somewhat. And I'm guessing that's also a technical thing because we shoot differently as people. So take us through this particular shot.
Okay, so just on the topic of the highlights and the shadows is, you mentioned, of course, we all got our different shooting styles. And this is absolutely mine. This is what I'm known for, is because I like that one spot to be directed light. It just gives a different feel of simplicity, if I can put it that way. There's not a lot happening. So in this photo is a good example to someone's question that we had before about the AI. And sometimes I will use, I'm going to say mostly, whenever I use AI, it will be for fabric placement, just to change the direction of the fabric that's maybe going in the wrong direction. I'll use AI to direct it into the correct spot. But overall, when looking at a photo like this, obviously you want the main focus to be on the little bump, the little baby that's breathing there. So I'll always put the little baby bump towards center light, because you've got the left side that is darkened and the right side that is lightened. That gives the illusion of a bigger tummy, because some women actually, carry very petitely, and when using side lighting like that, it enhances, I want to say detail. I'm actually Afrikaans, so I'm like struggling to find the word here.
It's
but
all
it
good.
enhances what needs to be enhanced if you kind of got that side light happening.
Okay. No, I love that, because we also got to get into some nice little questions again with you in terms of looking at tips for aspiring newborn photographers. What advice would you give to someone looking to start a career in newborn photography?
Ooh, wanting to start newborn photography. My advice is to go work on your patience. If you do not have the patience for newborn photography, don't attempt it. But honestly, on a serious note, if you want to, go in the direction of newborn photography, my best advice is to expand your knowledge on newborns. Their cues, how to calm a baby, what could be wrong. Is it hungry? Is it in pain? Is it tired? Is it, so picking up on cues is extremely important in newborn photography. And again, like I mentioned, anatomy of a newborn baby. So just push as much knowledge as you can, not only newborn photography, but a newborn itself. Understand the baby will be definitely a good investment to start.
Nice one, because, as I said, we dealing with fragile little people. So it is something that, tell me something. Are there any specific skills or qualities that you believe are critical for the success in this particular field, apart from like the patience?
I was about to say patience. I would definitely, again, just very, very hardly hammer on anatomy. It is so important to know how you can move a baby, how you can turn their heads, how far back you can push their head before they can't breathe. So that is a skill that that it does take time to learn, but you can do stuff to, actually go to college and study anatomy, which I've done, and also put yourself in a position where you are able to perform infant CPR and choking, because again, this is a little life. And even if you as the photographer did not, do anything wrong, anything can happen to a small child. And you will be the person that will be helping, and it could save a life. So that is definitely a skill I would recommend, you focus on achieving.
Right. So you mentioned something that it's extremely crucial. A lot of people don't really take that into consideration much. And I'm going to reiterate it because it's so critical. And that is your reaction in an event that a child, let's say, chokes or whatever the case, And how important is it to also have first aid training when it comes to newborn?
Absolutely. That kind of comes into context what I said about infant choking and CPR on little infants. That comes with first level first aid, and I cannot stress how important that is, because I know so many newborn photographers that do not know this. And that is scary. That is very scary, because like I said, that could save a life, and stuff happens in medical emergencies happens, and mom and dad is not going to be the people that's going to be helping, because they're going to be the ones freaking out on you. So knowing how to handle an emergency situation like that is absolutely crucial. Number one in newborn photography, I'd say.
All right. No, that's definitely something that I do feel that we need to reiterate and speak about quite often. And also just asking, still on the same path, how much of you invest time in terms of also speaking with the parent or / client in this instance about such a thing? Do they feel a sense of, okay, what are you saying? What happened to my child? Or how alarmed are they when you mention something like this?
When I receive parents in my studio, this is not something that I will bring up, purely because it brings stress. Okay, that arises the situation of, oh my goodness, okay, this is a stressful situation, and that is the exact opposite of what we want in that situation. It is
100%.
stated in my contracts that my clients read that I, am able to perform these things in case of emergency. But you don't want to arise negativity when starting your session like that. It's not necessary. They know you are qualified.
All right.
So you kind of want to just invite a client into your space with, relaxation. I very briefly do touch on the topic when I explain how the session will work, that safety comes first and then mom and dad's wants. So safety is always at the top of my list. And as my session progresses, I constantly explain to my clients what I'm doing. If I'm using a prop, I do tell them I've got weights in my props for your baby's safety. So I do touch quite often during the session very lightly on that, to just, rest assured mom feels safe.
All right. So I'm just going to move a bit away from that specific part and just want to speak about the future of newborn photography. How do you see the field of newborn photography evolving in the next 5 or so years?
Newborn photography, I want to say, is relatively new. It's got a very, very big future ahead of it. If you look at 10 years back, no one was doing the kind of newborn photography that's happening now. It was very natural, just lying flat on a bed, taking a photo, very lifestyle orientated. So I think moving forward, we still have a lot of growth, happening. But I'm kind of going the direction of the major growth that I see that's coming is going to be AI related for sure, especially with the tools that's now been released to us via Photoshop and Lightroom. I
All right.
see quite a lot of photographers deep diving into that. There's master classes running on it, especially with maternity sessions.
Right. All right. Have you ever done one?
Oh, the AI.
Also, no, master classes or workshops, or is that in the pipeline?
I've obviously attended quite a few of them, but I've had quite the question of, starting my own masterclasses and being able to teach other photographers my specific line of photography. So that is actually something that I would say either beginning next year might be coming up. There's a lot of planning involved in something like that, because you have to be absolutely 100% correct on everything when working with a life. It's not just taking a photo, it's a person. So there's a lot of preparations involved in, scheduling classes like that to make sure, you're doing the right thing, saying the right thing, teaching the right thing.
Okay. So tell me, because we're getting towards the end of the interview, what do you enjoy doing in your free time when you're not behind the camera?
It might not be what you think. I love to game. I'm a gamer.
Okay. Well, that explains the seat you're on at the moment.
Yeah.
For those that actually didn't pick it up, so for those that guys that didn't actually pick it up, that's one of the things I did actually pick up. And similarly, so you'd actually pick up that with the microphone that's it's pretty much same league, sort of IT, just to relax.
Mine's on the floor because I didn't want to have this big one on my head during the stream.
Strangely enough, I've got this one, and then there's that bigger one, and then it's also got the lights on, and so again, just to not detract a bit of attention, so gaming is actually quite something that a lot of people don't really envision, but trust me, it's wonderful.
It's such a great escape.
Once you put that camera down, it's something that's really great. And quick one, how do you balance your professional photography career with your personal life?
Sure. Strict time management, and that is something that you have to learn when you're a business owner, is to treat your business like a business, meaning you've got your personal business hours and you've got to stick to your own business hours. Because if you do not do that, you will either fatigue your business or you will fatigue your personal life. And both are equally extremely important. So I've got log on hours and I've got log off hours. I've got certain times during the days that I will book sessions and certain amount of time that's left for editing. And at a certain time of the day, I log off. So I will not edit into who knows what hours of the evenings or mornings, because that is not fair to my personal life. We are people, we are human beings, and we all deserve that right. So it just comes down to managing yourself strictly as a boss would manage you at a corporate company.
Right. So in closing, it's like time has flown. And to hear myself say in closing.
Someone's already on the way to bed.
So basically, in closing, what message would you like to leave with parents who are considering booking a newborn photo session with you?
Honestly, when I look at the expression and often tears that I receive in my studio, it is the most beautiful thing. It's such a heartwarming moment to capture. And I really do wish that every mom gets the opportunity to at least do that with one of their babies. It really is an experience, and it's something beautiful to look back on for the rest of your life.
All right. And then the last one from me is, how can people get hold of you?
I am on social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and websites. I don't know if you've got a display, or can I just mention that?
Mention it.
So my website is just www.papillonphotography.co.za, and then just Papillon Photography on Facebook. And if you want to find me on Instagram, it's a Papillon_photography_official.
All right. So yeah, thank you very much, Monique. I'm off the screen. Okay, there we go. I'm back. Yeah, it's technology all over. Okay, I'm off again.
It's on the way to bed. It's also done.
All right. Yeah, it's on the way to bed. But thank you very much. And I just need to close the stream. I think that's why it's highlighting for me that it's time, that sort of thing. But thank you very much, Monique, for the time that you've given us and the lessons with newborn photography that we have learned. And yeah, from my side is that I will be back next week, Thursday, with another guest with Getting to Grips, being on Tuesday with Carl Daniels, and then coming back on Thursday and doing again another one of F-Stop Live. So thanks again, Monique, for the time that you had with us, and thank you also very much to the people for tuning in this evening and making everything what it is today. So yeah, thank you very much, and let's continue supporting Godox SA. For free trading, you can actually sign up on our website there, www.godoxsa.co.za, and you can also buy stuff and say, you know what, I actually want to be there. So yeah, thank you very much for that. So with that, it is good night from me, and yeah, cheerio.